yeah. So it was on the news the other day that small businesses had won their case against the insurance companies because the insurance companies had promised to insure the companies, the businesses, against losses due to interruption of business. So if anything happened to stop the businesses making money, then they paid all the bills. Now they were saying that the pandemic wasn't covered in that they didn't really own it, that the minutiae of the words meant that they weren't really responsible. And so several different types of words were mentioned to see if they actually held water, whether they were covered. And in all of the cases, as I understand it, the small businesses won, and the insurance companies were made to pay out on the claims for the businesses. So there were lots of small business owners leaping for joy that they'd won that. And that ties in with what Jesus was saying in our text for today from Matthew chapter 5. Again, you've heard that it was said to the people long ago, don't break your oath, but keep the oaths you've made to the Lord. But I tell you, do not swear at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by the earth, which is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. Simply let your yes be yes and your no be no. And what's that got to do with it? Well, people used to say, well, if you swear by heaven, well, then you, if you've promised to do something, you say, I promise by on my mother's grave, then you could actually get out of that, you know. But if you swore by heaven, by God, by Jerusalem, then all that was a binding promise, and God would, you'd have to kind of keep that promise. So it was like people trying to get out of the promises that they'd made, the kind of contracts that they'd made. And Jesus is saying, don't be like that. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. If you say you're going to do something, do it. I've just spoken to a builder who's doing a bit of work for me. And he said he couldn't come till next week. And I said, okay. But he actually found that he could come early. That reminded me of a parable where Jesus said about two brothers. One said no and didn't, and it actually came and did the job. Another said yes and didn't do it. And Jesus said, there, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Be that kind of person that makes a promise, thinks about it before you make it, and then keeps it. Don't say glibly you're going to do something and then realise that you can't. Take your time, think about it, keep your promises. Promise keepers are really impressive people.